All right, hello, this is Wmpyr. Hopefully, this video will be like a small journey. All right, let me start off with Aikido. And I was on Twitter the other day and I saw an interesting video clip. It's one of the people that in Japan they're teaching Aikido, and I've contacted them a few times before, and she is a Aikido instructor. Mostly teaches children. She also does teach adult classes, but a lot of her clips that she posts is of her class teaching children. Where, I know with martial arts, to me, that kind of like it. I understand business wise, it's a money thing, so I kind of look down on that. But the way that she's doing it, you could tell that she's genuinely having fun. I'm sure the business aspect is there because, children's classes probably makes a good amount of money. But she really, really looks like she's having a ton of fun with her students, and they're doing not so much Aikido, but more so like exercises that are loosely related to Aikido. Okay, but there was one clip, I think it was maybe a year ago, that she put up where it was different from a lot of these clips that she normally uploads. And this one was with her and I believe it was a young man, and she was trying to do an Aikido technique, and you can tell that apparently she told the person to resist, and she basically utterly miserably failed in whatever technique she was trying to do. Um, and it was her honesty of uploading this clip that I commended her, and it wasn't only me. There were a bunch of other people that also commended her, and I sent her a DM, direct message, or a PM private message, telling her that, great job, um, so on and so forth. I don't really remember, but it was something along those lines, that you were brave for showing that, and that's what real martial arts training should be about, is the testing and not be afraid of failure, and to be honest with yourself, that kind of thing, right? And she wrote back, and I was kind of surprised with her response. And she said something along the lines of, I don't want to lose to a man. And I was like, oh, wow. So she changed it into a sex thing, that this was about the male competing against the male, I guess, And, I'm not here to judge, to each their own path, I kind of felt like that's shouldn't be the issue here. It should just be someone that's bigger, meaner, and stronger, is the way that I see it. If it happens to be male, sure, probably more than likely it's going to be a male, yeah. But you don't have to directly direct it towards the male species. Is was my honest thought, But anyway, I was like, okay, I wonder why she wrote that. Did something happen? Was she attacked before? Was she bullied before? Was she almost raped before? What the hell? That was what I thought. It was almost like concern, and just wondering. But I didn't probe. I thought it was none of my business, and I didn't want to be disrespectful, And I wrote her back, telling her, I guess, my experiences about training martial arts here in Texas, where 90% of the time I'm the smallest person in the class, what that feels like. But anyway, um, the recent video clip that she uploaded was different from anything I had really seen from her before, if I'm not mistaken. And it was one of those where the person is grabbing her wrist, and she barely moves and off balances the person. the so-called attacker that's grabbing her wrist. Now it's not done combatively, realistically, nothing like that. It's I wouldn't even say it's like for any kind of actual self-defense application. The way they showed it, it was definitely they're working on a very, very specific skill. Boxers and MMA fighters could do this, but the way that you would be doing that would be like, here, can you show me how you do your jab, or can you show me how you do your middle kick? And they're breaking it down, and it's not like, here, throw the kick as realistic as possible and let's work from there. No, it's not that kind of training. It's like, here, let's slow it down and let's just forget about the actual end product right now. Let's work on very specific details, kind of thing, where you're working on body mechanics. And that's what I saw from her and in that clip, and I was really impressed, because that's the kind of Aikido that personally I'm interested in. That's the kind of Aikido training that I want to do. Not the ones where it's like, hey, let's make this technique work in real life. No, I'm not interested in combat Aikido, or where Aikido starts to look more like old school Japanese jujitsu, like Aiki jujitsu type stuff. I'm not interested in that. For me personally, I just feel like, well, for that, I just do MMA. If I'm worried about a resisting opponent and my technique failing and it turning into a fight, because a fight to me equals struggle, so it's going to go back and forth and the person's resisting, then I just, MMA skills cover that for me, so I'm not really worried about that. So for Aikido, for me, it's a totally different animal, and I want it to be different. I want it to be working on these very, very subtle things that look like has nothing to do with combat, and for all intents and purposes, while you're practicing it, has nothing to do with combat. Later on, it's up to the student to link it with combat and how they're going to use it in realistic application. But for the time purpose in the dojo, it's mastering body mechanics in the Aikido method, because they have a very specific way they do that. So I sent this to another Aikido friend on Twitter. She just got her second degree black belt, and real quick, and I'm all over the place as usual, so please be patient with me in my storytelling. My student just told me recently, he informed me that in Japan, most Aikido schools, in order for them to start teaching, it has to be a minimum of third degree black belt. I didn't know this. I thought the moment you got your black belt, you could start teaching, but that's U.S. standards. And of course, here in the U.S., people might say, well, that's because U.S. is watered down, or U.S. is lower level, or whatever. No, it's because it's so far away, and to spread it to another country, I think you have to, because if you do that, then there's only going to be a much, much less number of Aikido schools. So you have to do it that way, where I remember learning Aikido from Shodan, which is first degree black belt here in the U.S. People teaching under third degree, you know what I mean? So yeah, that's what my student had told me, and I thought that was interesting. Anyway, she just got her second degree black belt, and she's working on her third, of course. And whatchamacallit. So I sent it to her, and she's from a different Aikido organization, and asking her, like, what do you think about this? And for me, it was like, this is a realm that, because the Aikido training that I did, I understand that there was subtle stuff. And now I'm not talking about details to techniques. That's not what I'm talking about, because we do that in BJJ, we do that in MMA. We do that in Muay Thai kickboxing. That's not what I'm talking about, you know. I'm talking about the very subtle, you know, where really we're focusing on the word Aiki, which is the blending of force, energy. And even back then, so when I was in my college years, when I was doing Aikido at the college Aikido club, I understood this. I couldn't really do it, you know. And my partners, I don't think really understood, but I I got it. Like I understood that that existed, and that already was huge. And it's very interesting because my friends that were also in the Aikido club, I think they were largely, on most part, clouded by the pursuit of realistic and effective techniques. And because they were pursuing that, they couldn't understand, because it's like when you try to do that, you block yourself from being able to blend and work on this energy connection. They, they, I think they told me they felt that a couple of times, but at the end of the day, they always went back to effective and practical, and you know, using it in real life, and so they would lose that connection rather than working on that skill development. For me, I was obsessed with practical, tactical, you know, being effective, being able to use this in a real fight. I was obsessed, but with Aikido, I had the understanding, the sensibility to know that Aikido is a little different here. Leave it alone. With Aikido, don't train it like that. With Muay Thai kickboxing, Filipino martial arts, MMA, with other stuff, yeah, you can do that all you want. You could think about how to apply it in the street. You could modify it. With Aikido, I was like, leave it alone. There's a higher message here, and if you start doing that with Aikido, you mess it up. Like you're watering it down for sure. You're ruining it, you know. So leave it alone. Like I got that, right? So anyway, watching this very subtle clip where it, you know, coming from like a MMA training, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu training, Muay Thai kickboxing training, and looking at it, it looks like a magic trick. But I know enough about Aikido that it's not, that she's not faking it. They're not, it's not a con. It's, that was real, what they did. And you know, people watching this, like bullshito people, like people that are critics, you know, armchair internet critics, whatever, you know, they'll look at this and go, so what if it's real? How can you use that in real life? Once again, they're not understanding what Aikido is, which is the practice of blending energy, learning how to blend energy. Now, from there, you could blend energy all you want, but then from there comes, you start applying that to your everyday life. And this could be a simple conversation with someone. You're talking to someone and they're hostile, you know, and this would be very, very useful for like security guards, because I've been there. You know, I'm talking to someone and they're just getting hostile, and they're very aggressive and angry, and I'm like, whoa, why are they directing their anger towards me? I'm just a messenger. You know, you're going to kill the messenger? You know, what the hell's your problem? Kind of thing, you know? But they sensed up on me acting this way towards them, and then that only fed the fire, you know? But anyway, let me go to back to that video clip, and it's really not an amazing clip or anything. That's why I'm not showing it. I don't feel the need to, and plus I didn't want to offend her, even though she's the one that put it up. She's very specific about that kind of thing, so I didn't want to just show it without her permission, and I didn't want to bother her and ask for her permission. So anyway, yeah, it's one of those. I think in the US, I don't really see a whole lot of Aikido techniques like this, which is unfortunate. In Japan, there's tons. There's tons of people demonstrating stuff like this, where it's very, very subtle stuff. Here in the US, I see more like Steven Seagal Aikido, where people are doing clotheslines, people are doing, the kotegaishi wrist lock takedowns, defending against the strike and practicing irimi or tenkan or this kind of stuff where it's more combative. In Japan, I see at least 50% or more where they're doing the exercises. Once again, not martial application type of stuff, but and even if you do work on martial application like they do over here in the US, people still get criticized because they go, well, how come you don't see that in a boxing match or a wrestling match or an MMA? And you're not in a good position to argue against that, and you're going to be arguing forever. And that's tons of wasted energy to me. It's just going nowhere. And the answer is simple. The situation's not the same. A self-defense situation and a fight is not the same situation. I've said this many times. It's really that simple. But a fight can occur in self-defense, and that never should be ignored. And in these arguments, they separate. They come from two different views. They never really cross-trained, at least respectfully. Even those people that said, I've done Aikido, I know what I'm talking about. No, you really don't know what you're talking about. So because they're coming from a converted viewpoint, So anyway, I feel like I come from a viewpoint where I truly, honestly respect MMA, combat sports. I truly, honestly respect Aikido. And so, I mean, to me, that's a way more balanced viewpoint. So, for me, I feel like my viewpoint makes more sense. Obviously, it's mine, but so I am biased, but it just feels I'm coming from a more balanced um, point of viewpoint, equality viewpoint. More what's the word that I'm looking for? Uh, Unbiased kind of viewpoint. But anyway, that clip and what the Japanese people show with their Aikido training is more along the lines of, they're sitting down and a person grabs your wrist and then you make them off balance, or you're both standing, so that's in the case of you're both kneeling. But then there's also stuff where you're both standing, the person grabs your wrist, and then you can make them bend their knee off balance a little bit. That was the clip that I saw. Is that's what she showed? Very, very subtle stuff like that. So that to me is the soft, subtle aiki, the blending, harmonizing of force, and that is what I like. To me, that is the Aikido training. I'm not going to say that's true Aikido, but I'm going to say that's the Aikido training that I personally like and feel like where it's at for Aikido. So I showed it to her because it's so, in a way, different from what I'm used to. It's so foreign, It's not my area at all. I wish it was, but it is. It's like asking someone who's done MMA for 5 years and nothing else, and then ask them to go do some yoga or Tai Chi, and they're going to be like, maybe they could kind of sort of relate in an exercise point of view. Like they could go to yoga and go, oh, this is stretching me out. This is a good warm up, but that's about it. Not the philosophy, not the mental part, none of that, other than relax before a fight, or um, try to get in the zone when you're fighting. Once again, it goes straight to fighting. That's what an MMA fighter is. That's what MMA training is. You're training to be a fighter. So anyway, she responded back to me. And what she said about this was, in a way, a little bit mind-blowing, because she was like, this is about intent and redirecting it kind of thing. and the focus of that kind of stuff. And I was just like, it's she put it so simply, and I'm like, damn, okay, but like that means nothing to me, like I get what she's saying, but it's just like, so a person grabs my wrist and I'm supposed to think my way into a physical response. Because I guess by thinking, that's the first start, right? And it's not even like really thinking, right? It's more like flowing, because if you think, we all know, anyone who's done martial arts know that in real life, a lot of times there's like, there might be no time to think. I mean, within a confrontation, within an altercation, there's times where you can, and there's times where you cannot. And so when you're suddenly, like, the person grabs your wrist out of nowhere, you don't really have a whole lot of time to think, right? And the moment you start thinking, you're already falling behind in the time race. They're already going to be doing their next stuff, and you're already, yeah, you're way late. So this is where the energy flow, you have to immediately connect with it. So then you go with the flow, and you can respond back instantaneously because you're connected. You're directly connected. Whatever they do, since you're directly connected, your response is boom, right there. It flows into it, like, kind of thing. There's no time loss. You don't fall behind compared to them, because you are with them. You are one with them. And now I know it sounds mystical and whatever, but uh anyway, so then this came to, how can I personally relate to this? Me being an octopus trying to relate to, I don't know, a jellyfish. It's just totally different. And I remember my last Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu tournament that I entered. Um, I remember my strategy was to stall. I was going to be that guy, the worst guy, where it's like ready, go, and I was going to stall. I'm going to pretend like I'm doing stuff, but really I'm just stalling. So like Mayweather. And I don't know, was this before Mayweather became super popular and famous in mainstream culture? Maybe not. I don't remember, but maybe at the time I didn't even like. I wasn't really um, watching Mayweather at the time, but this could have been right when he was getting real popular. Um, I want to say Mayweather, Pacquiao. I could be totally wrong. It could be way before that, but anyway. So my strategy was to stall, wait till the final few seconds, and then go for a submission and finish the fight. That was my strategy. Why? Because in the beginning, I know they're gonna immediately try to come after me right from the beginning. They're trying to dominate. They're trying to finish me, and if I go up against that, it's force to force. It's their strength versus my strength. Who's stronger? Who's faster? And we're both going to tire out. The best time for me to go for the submission is when they're tired. So I was going to let them attack me the whole time, 90% of the time. And the last 10%, I was going to finish them. That was my strategy. They're not only going to be tired by that time, they're going to be frustrated. And also at that time, they're going to sense that I have no desire to fight, so they're not really worried about me, and I was going to use that to my advantage. So fake it, make it look like I'm scared, make it look like I'm just being dominated. So it's acting as well, and I'm laying out this trap. So stall. I had to make sure my defense was solid, and I had been practicing that the whole time. Well, not the whole time, but most of the time in class anyway. So I was ready to do that. My defense, I was pretty confident in. So the match starts and I'm doing that. I'm waiting, 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 waiting. And I'm going, really? This is your strategy? You start to doubt yourself because, yeah, done it in class, but in class it don't matter. Here's a match where everything matters. I'm representing the school. I'm Team Machado, not just Team Machado. I mean Carlos Machado, who in Texas, this is a big name. And I'm not just an affiliate program school. No, I'm at the actual the what we say in Japan, Hombu Dojo, the main school. That's the team that I'm in. So I was like, there's a lot of expectation and pressure on me to represent the school well. Kind of, I'm making this up, but that's what I feel. Not that the instructor counted on me or anything like that, or anyone else counted on me. Maybe they did a little bit, but it's not like I was the star student, or anything. Not to my knowledge, anyway. Um, so there I am, um, you know, starting to go, what's up? And it felt long. I'm just getting attacked, 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 and I'm defending, 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 and I'm fine, but I'm going, is this really the right strategy? And I want to fight back. My instincts is like, you know, you punch me, I want to punch you back. I mean, this has been my um, I wouldn't say that's my personality, but a fighter's instinct, to some extent. I'm not saying I'm a fighter because I'm not, but that needs to be your instinct to a certain extent. So I'm itchy here. I want to fight back. I'm itchy onion, and I really want to fight back here. And I'm going, is this the right strategy? And then at that point, I remember my corner. They're yelling at me and going, "What the hell are you doing?" I'm very grateful for having a corner. This guy, he's the guy that became the like assistant instructor of the Carlos Machado dojo. Later, he opened his own dojo, but yeah, he was from Brazil, and yeah, I'm very grateful that he did work my corner. But he was yelling at me, going, "What are you doing? You're not doing anything. Like you gotta fight back. Attack, attack, bro. Like you're way behind on points. Time is running out." And when I heard that, I was like, "Oh crap! How much time do I have? Did I wait too long? Are we like at 5 seconds left? What's going on?" So I started freaking panicking, and I was trying to stay calm, but the self doubt, the instinct of wanting to fight back, and then his words. I'm not blaming him, but now at this, because he didn't know my strategy. So now at this point, I'm going, oh crap, this is about to backfire. I'm about to lose. It's going to be like 2-0, and I lost by a takedown or something like that. And I was like, I can't have this, you know. And it's not that I did get taken down, if I remember correctly, but the judges could have seen it that way. Like, oh, I pulled guard, from my understanding, but I could have easily been look like I was taken down. That's the way that I do it anyway. Um, but so at this point, I was like, all right, I need to do my reversal, and I believe I went for what Eddie Bravo calls old school. He calls it old school reliable. It's a half sweep from, not a half sweep, it's a sweep from the half guard, right? And I believe I went for that, and then I had to modify it, and then I'm trying to take this guy down, and he's resisting. He's resisting my takedown, and I'm at this point. It's kind of like he's fighting it, and I'm like halfway there, kind of. And so at that point, I'm like, dude, you know, you're almost there. Don't give up. Just freaking finish the sweep, the reversal. Do it. So at that point I'm muscling, and the fear set in. So I'm fighting against the fear, my insecurities. all those worries, all that panic, and I'm fighting against that. So all my energy is directed towards that. And I really try hard to power through. And that's where my knee gives out. The tendon or ligament, it just freaking rips bad. Like, made a huge sound, ripped, and I collapsed back into the same position, the half guard, and I'm going, oh, I just really, really hurt myself. So now I'm in the exact same position I was in before, but now it's 10 times worse. Now I'm in a critical, like I could end up in a hospital. This is a career-ending injury, is what I'm thinking. And the opponent did not notice. They didn't hear it. They didn't know. The ref obviously doesn't know. The judges don't know. My corner doesn't know. I'm the only one that knows at this point that I'm really, really, really hurt. So if I tell the ref, it could easily be stopped. Easily, they'll pull him off of me. And at this point, the guy's still attacking me. He doesn't know, and he's just trying to finish me. And I'm at the bottom going, oh crap, what do I do? I thought I was in a bad position. I was trying to, turn the match around. Now here I am. Now I'm worried about my leg, right? And all that just, to me, this is where it ignited a fire inside me, where I got pissed. I got really angry. I went in all cocky with this perfect plan, and it just royally backfired. And now I'm in a really horrible situation. It was like, look at the mess you got yourself into. Nobody made you take Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Nobody did this. You did it all to yourself. And I was super angry. And I felt the person on top, my opponent, was finally starting to get tired. They kind of frustrated, didn't know what to do. They just shoved and stopped my takedown. So they're feeling okay, and I felt a stop in their attack. At that moment, I exploded. I finished the guy with a submission that I made up. I didn't make up the submission right there, but I had made this submission up in class. I don't know how long ago, but it was one of my moves that I had made up in class. I call it the insider, and it's done from the half guard. And to this day, I haven't seen anyone else do it. It's basically a calf crank, but it's on the inside. All the time, calf cranks are done on the outside, and this is done on the inside. People go into the calf crank from the outside, like they're trying to take the back from the half guard. They're trying to take your back, and then they switch to this calf crank, right? This one is you're in the half guard position, and then from there you do the calf crank from underneath. So between his legs, I'm putting him in a calf crank. So I did that. This guy screams in pain, taps out, rolls off of me. So I got him off. I won the match. And the ref and I think this guy in his corner, they all said to me that I used a twisting ankle lock. And I was like, no, it's a straight ankle lock. But at that point, I wasn't going to argue. I didn't care because it's not like I could continue anyway. So I was like, you're going to give me a loss? I don't care. Give me a loss, So they disqualified me for using an illegal technique, but it's not. It wasn't. I didn't twist it. Even my own corner said, bro, you used like a heel hook. And it's like, it's not a heel hook. It's a calf crank, But I didn't argue. Once again, I just said, "Oh man, I really hurt myself," and whatever. But I was proud of myself that I got him off of me with my own two hands. That I didn't say, "Hey ref, get me out of this horrible situation. Please save me." No, I didn't do that. So I was happy, but I was also not happy with the injury. But in a way, the injury almost became an excuse for me to go, you know what, this is the end of my BJJ career. I'm done. And so shortly after, I stopped. I quit and I moved. And that was, it wasn't the end of my BJJ training, but it pretty much marked the end there for me. And especially because of injuries, including that one. And so I was done. But when I look back on that, And so how is this BJJ story related to Aikido? It's 100% to me, for me, related because um, in Aikido there's a word called Seishin Toitsu, which is self-grounding. It's grounding yourself mentally by doing mental exercise and meditation, right? And so in a match, I was lacking that. This match brought that to the surface because my insecurities poured in. I panicked. I admit it. I panicked. And even though my game plan, I don't think it was bad. It was solid. It was a good game plan. And ultimately it worked, but not because of me. It worked because of luck. I was lucky. It all turned out that way. But I almost screwed it up, me, myself, almost totally screwed it up. And the reason why I screwed up was because I did not have good Aiki. I was connected with the opponent. I went for the sweep. It wasn't working. I should have felt that, and I should have gone with that. If anything, I could have maybe changed to a different sweep, different reversal, used that sensitivity. No, my fear, I was fighting against my own fear and insecurities that I decided to force through and power through that. And then on top of that, this person was fighting back. And yeah, I lost. I lost that match. Um, that that uh, power versus power because he was also bigger and stronger than me, even though we were in the same weight class. I remember when I got on the what do you call it, the weighing machine, the scale, I was way light from whatever it was because the match before that I lost weight. Not the match, but the tournament before that I lost weight and I cut weight on purpose. My coach told me to do it, so I cut weight. I never done it before. I'm not a wrestler. A big mistake. I shouldn't have done it. But I was a obedient student, so I cut weight, went to the tournament, and entered as I think it was a flyweight, featherweight, something like that. And for this one, I just entered as a welterweight, if I'm not middleweight, welterweight. I don't even remember, but I just entered, and they were like, you could almost be in the weight class below, and I was like, no, thank you, I already done that. So I was like, I'll just go in natural. I like natural. I'm used to going up against bigger guys anyway, so that's fine. And anyway, when the match started, and this guy, when he came attacking in, I felt his strength. He was stronger, bigger. Yeah, it was heavier. I definitely felt like, oh, he's strong, But I was like, I'm used to that in the dojo, so no problem. And that's when I had no problem just defending, stalling, defending, and that's what I was doing. But yeah, my connection to him, the sensitivity, feeling his energy, I ignored it and I let my own inner thoughts, my own inner fears take over. And so it was a total failure on that, grounding myself, failure Aikido wise. So this is me applying Aikido to Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. And maybe you have heard people say, fighting is, maybe you've heard someone say it's 60% mental. Maybe you heard someone say it's 90% mental. Well, for me right here, it was a very, very high number of being mental. I would say it's like 90% mental in this particular match. And that's where I screwed up. And, the 10% that was BJJ, the 10% that was physical, I mean, um, I had that down enough that I was secure there. You know what I mean? Like I could trust that. I could trust that I could defend. I could trust that I could wait till the last second and then go for a submission, and I would have a high chance of finishing this guy. Like that comes from everyday practice in BJJ, which I had been doing. So I trusted that. But yeah, the mental part is where I totally failed there, and looking back on it, it's not like I did mental training. It's not like I really, really did a ton of it or on a regular basis. No, I was just working on BJJ technique and skill and strategy building. So, uh, so anyway, I told this story to the lady, the second degree black belt in Aikido, and she, this is part of her response. Once again, I don't want to read the whole thing, and this is a different person, but I don't want to offend her. So one of the things that she said is that that there's no tournaments in Aikido. So yeah, I'm familiar with that, but here she is sharing that in Aikido training itself, it's called prearranged training. So the partners are supporting each other's growth, and that's what I love about Aikido and Filipino martial arts. The partner training is also there, and to me, this kind of training is the higher technology. It's higher. It's not really technology. It's more so higher level of consciousness. So the lower level is to say, hey, let's just freaking spar, full contact. So you have a training partner, or even lower than that is find someone that's willing to fight you and just fight that person. And then you're going to learn from that. Of course, not of course, you can learn from that and you can become better from that. But it's even better if you have a regular training partner, but then now you're sparring full contact. Okay, so this is like in BJJ training, you do that. In MMA training, you do that. In Muay Thai kickboxing, you do that. But then an even higher level than that is what I like. For example, my student was telling me in Muay Thai kickboxing, they do light sparring, very, very light sparring, and a lot of it when they're hitting hard and they're free flowing and they're going at it, it's mitt work. So they don't hurt each other. To me, that is a more evolved way of training, whereas in some other countries, when they're doing kickboxing training or MMA training or even BJJ training, they're just sparring full contact. And like I said, that is a lower level of consciousness to me, more higher evolved, higher technology, high tech is partner training. It's scenario training. It is where you are taking care of each other and you're going much, much lighter. It's the premise of, okay, we know what it's like to go full contact. We already got that. So let's evolve to the next level. And that's what you're doing right there. Now, some people, they could do full contact training a very few times and they get it. And after that, they retain it. They still remember what it's like. And then so they're able to go light training and they're okay with that. They're fine with that. They don't deteriorate. But then there's other people where they got to keep doing full contact training for a long time, and it's just different case by case. But anyway, so in Filipino martial arts we have partner training drills, and to me this is super super, in a way, similar to what she's talking about, and to me that is the heart of Filipino martial arts. It is also the key to Filipino martial arts. It's such an important part that if you get it wrong, I think it's going to mess you up. And same with Aikido. The people that are doing combat Aikido, I think they're getting that part wrong. So anyway, the principles are to survive, not to get injured, not to cause injury, but to have fun. And each person struggles not with their partner, but with their own weak points. And all this she's saying, I understand. And I've known this about Aikido, and I'm not telling her like, duh, I already know this. No, I'm grateful that she's bringing it back up to me, so that I could review this one more time, which I have done over the course, many times. But yeah, I love that about Aikido, and I love that about, it's not just limited to Aikido. I believe you apply that to martial arts. And back again to grounding yourself. And to me, this is one of the things, like, for example, with the Japanese Bushido, the way of the sword, more important than technique, because there's a million techniques out there on how to cut another human being, how to effectively cut another human. what's important is the mental aspect, and I feel like the code of the samurai, the Bushido way, and all that, they really understood that. So their whole thing was to connect that with the technique. And here, the whole story I gave you guys about my Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu tournament experience was that I failed to connect the mind, the mindset, the mushin, the no mind, that with my strategy, my techniques. I totally failed there. So it's a big lesson for me. And then she said, are you working on attaining that? On grounding yourself? And that's a good question. I need to be, and I definitely, yeah. So then the question is, how? and and I will let you guys know as I keep progressing. Or there's no guarantee that I will progress, but hopefully, as I just keep moving forwards. Okay, so that's it for now. Thank you for listening, and take care, folks.